With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
From Richmond Raceway, we are live for another round of Precision Racing NASCAR Cup Series action. 3/4 mile course, filling coils, Artie Radford coming at you live from in Richmond, Virginia. Not really in the middle of the city, just on the outskirts of that middle portion, but definitely get that vibe of being right near the city, not in a city. Terry, have you ever been here before?
Nah, I never wanted to. The wife's from here, so I figured I'd stay as far away from Virginia as possible.
I can tell you are on a positive attitude today. Oh, man. I love you. Just set the tone for it. You just set the tone, my friend. But
that's the plan.
We are, yeah, of course. You got to set the plan like that. But it is a race that's going to be occurring in the afternoon. Track temperature is 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Richmond, always a place where you can expect, especially in the daytime in the summer, slick tracks and usually, maybe not with the Cup cars of today, but usually some difficult to control cars under throttle with that start-finish line just being right outside of turn 4.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. And a couple key notes with Maverick Davis, Brandon Walter, Jay McDonald not qualifying. 2 suspensions coming to this. Jeff Chandler with a code of conduct penalty, and Mike Witt getting suspended for causing 2 cautions last week in a race. That's going to be crazy to see what the race is going to be like with him on the spotter stand for Pruitt instead of being on the racetrack.
Well, it is definitely getting interesting in both the Drivers' Championship, the team as well. We go into the truck. Well, it says Truck Series standings up there. But, hey, there's a look
He's
at the
doing
Truck
good
Series
on Wednesdays.
standings.
Yeah, he's doing great on Wednesdays with Alan Dice and Atkins. And for Alan Dice, coming off of a win last week at Richmond. So coming in here, it's good to talk about that. But there's the Cup Series. Yeah, yay. Hey, we got 4 weeks to go, including tonight with Michigan and then the 2 road courses to end our season out before, we say goodbye.
Yeah, just a few races to go, and I guess you could say Richmond and Michigan are the only conventional racetracks left, of course, with the road courses coming up to serve as the penultimate and the finale. It's going to be pretty interesting to see which drivers are able to really put on a show here at Richmond and Michigan. But we move on to the drivers' standings as well with 4 races left to go. And Trent Ginkel has the lead by 30 points, but he has not really used his drop week. Yes, he only gained 11 points a few weeks ago, but he is planning to miss, I believe, the final race of the season, which kind of just puts it all up in the air for anybody in behind to catch up, pass him for potentially the championship lead.
Well, he did say last week that Landon Mills is probably going to win this championship based off of the fact that Landon won last week, has had a lot of good finishes inside the top 3. Abner Acosta as well with 2 road courses at the very end of the season with Indianapolis road course and then the Watkins Glen Cup circuit that will turn. Abner's been very strong. We saw it at Chicago. We saw it at the street course. I think Abner might be the one, him and Landon, and it'll be a tight battle, and he's still got to count Trent in there as well. He's got 30-point buffer, but that's half a race.
Well, it's a 30-point buffer that is currently being built with a drop week considered and factored into it. Of course, that's the one thing about the drop weeks, right? It provides a much-needed break if somebody needs to take 1 out of 10 weeks off on a Sunday night. But when it comes down to it, we don't necessarily know what the actual numbers are until the final race ends. We move on to the Cup team standings, and it's a little bit closer up top, but still private label team Hype has a commanding lead with SGE Esports, Pioneer, and Love Racing duking it out for position number 2. You can see some clear separation now between Pioneer and Love Racing with SGE Esports Entourage further back. They're kind of just chilling in 4th.
I like how you said duking it out to start our show. Like you just kind of hit it with a high note of duking it out. And I'm not sure if you talked about the number 2 bowel movements or if you just talked about actually fighting. But it's going to be fun to see this progress throughout the season. 4 weeks to go. I mean, tonight could be a good night for SGE Pioneer, but private label team Hype has been absolutely phenomenal. Lights out all season with Dinkle and James O'Brien and a lot of other drivers that have just been really, really good to come out here. But man, I think we got to do some ad reads now. Well, you do.
Well, yeah, that is my job, and it's a great job to have because we do have so many very, very good partners we'd like to thank, such as Advanced Sim Racing, which is owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount code on ASR products using the Precision5 coupon code. Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision5 coupon code. The Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker proof. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion. Can't really speak right now, Terry. And realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Mechasim Hardware. Mechasim Hardware is a small company from the Czech Republic, and their goal is to produce high-quality sim racing hardware. If you are looking for the high-end pedal set of your dreams, handbrake, or sequential shifter, visit Mechasim Hardware's eShop right now to get you up to speed. Muradness. It's a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit Muradness.com. And finally, Mr. Hedge Sim Racing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments. That would be my ad read of the Butt Kicker. From your hobby and up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. Terry, lots of partners to thank. I'm chilling here with not your favorite partner of eNASCAR in my hands. I'm sorry, it's not that. But we do have qualifying going on.
Yeah, and hopefully I don't struggle like you did on those ad reads there.
Hey, I struggled with one.
Sounded like a newborn trying to read a book for the first time. That was pretty bad. That was bad.
It was the Butt Kicker.
It was all the way across the board. It sounded like you were trying to give a presidential address, like you were trying to give the State of the Union while you were reading it. I got nervous for a second. I thought you were stroking out on me. I was like, can we cut to break? Like, we got commercials we can show there. Let's take a look at most of these people who are on the racetrack. Landon Mills backing up what he did last week with the win. He's definitely got some speed here. He said Richmond was one of his better racetracks. So he was fast in practice, fastest in practice, and this is exactly what the top 5 was from the practice session we had going into this race with Mills, Dinkle, Acosta, O'Brien, and Harvey. Good to see Luke Christian up here holding out in 6th, and a lot of names that we'll talk about throughout the race that could become a good strategic play. I would circle maybe Eric Papanow doing a good job from the RSR family of racing, and potentially I would circle the 42 of Jose Acosta. I think that'd be an interesting person to watch as he's been very strong on the short tracks of late.
Well, we have the starting grid, and Landon Mills is going to be starting on the pole alongside Trent Dinkle, Abner Acosta in 3rd, James O'Brien 4th. That's a really good top 2 rows, and it gets even better as you go on with Pat Harvey and Luke Christian, your front 3 rows. We go to Joshua Daniels, Jose Acosta, TJ Bartel, Matthew Campbell, Bruno Mello, Robert Beasall Jr. Terry.
Yeah, we go back here to Eric Papanow, Patrick Cowgill, Tristan Callahan, Robert Gamble, Rachel Hunt back there in 17th, and John Jones 18th.
And Chris Hudson in 19th with Waldo Walden in 20th, Richard Pruitt, Skip Gandy, Tom Amacy, and Chad Kibbe in 24th. We'll just keep it going with Scotty Johnson, Bradley Moore, Maverick Davis. Oh, Bradley Moore with the New Jersey Devils paint scheme I just saw.
Boo.
Brandon Walter in 20th. Yeah, go Flyers. Wayne Grassi is one of the first, actually. Maverick Davis is the first to not set a qualifying time. Jay McDonald in 30th. And we continue down with Jose Medina, Brian Dixon, and Colton Easterday. So a good few, 7 drivers out of the 33 in this field did not qualify, whether they just decided not to or penalties disallowed them from doing that. My tongue definitely has peanut butter on it. I saw in the YouTube comments right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're working on it. He reads his words every day.
I try.
We try to get him on it.
I was actually, when I was younger, I was in speech therapy for my R's and my L's.
That's interesting. That's an interesting note. I'll hold that in the back pocket for the next time I see it at the racetrack. I'm just going to sit there and think of every word with an R and an L in it and just say it.
All right. I really
liquor.
Anyway.
Ravioli. Ravishing ravioli.
Ravioli. Okay, now I'm really going to try.
Ravishing ravioli.
Ravishing ravioli.
There you go. That sounds better. Well, I'll DM Matt Collig and Chris Rice and be like, you should just come up with the words over the radio and tell him he has to tweet these words out.
Chandler.
We have so much time on the pace laps, we can kind of do whatever we want because there's 2 laps here. So,
let's be honest, we do whatever we want, even if we didn't have the time on the pace laps.
That's true. We got 4 races. We got 4 races before we, wrap up the season, and we go about 3 weeks before we come back live, and it won't be me next season. So we got to make these last 4 races count. I actually have to miss one, so I miss Indianapolis. I missed that one completely. So I have 3 weeks left with you, unless you have any of them you're going to miss. And then we get to work together again for RSR. I'll finish the season out there. I just don't want to start a season here and then end it.
Well, it'll be fun to be on RSR with you as continuing that 3-man booth once you're done with some Woo late model action.
Woo!
But woo! For now, it is not Ric Flair time. It is Euro Cup Series racing action. We're green and we're underway at Richmond. Three wide racing for the top 5. There's still 3 wide as we cross the line. Lap 1 led by Landon Mills, Dinkel, Acosta, O'Brien, the top 4, the top 5. It's a dogfight. Luke Christian currently holds 5th, but underneath him is Joshua Daniels.
Oh, they're wrecking.
Oh, they're wrecking!
That's I think that's CJ
Caution's
Bartel.
Tristan Callahan involved.
The 3 of Beasall. That's Beasall Jr. That kind of just cut across the nose there. That was a good catch. There was just it's so short here. I don't think we're going to see a lot of this tonight. I don't think we're going to have a lot of cautions. This is kind of just a frequent early bunched up. They get spread out here. It's going to be a hard time to be under the yellow flag.
Sometimes when the wall kind of comes out of nowhere on the exit of turn 4, there's not much of a forgiveness zone. By that I mean it doesn't really blend off the corner, it just kind of flattens out. And the wall comes quickly. We're going to see the replay here, and Beasall Jr. just
He just got loose.
He got, I don't know if he got loose as much as he felt like he was going to hit the wall and overreacted and overcorrected as much as he could. And I mean, obviously, clearly that's a mistake from Beasall Jr. One, I'm sure he wouldn't try to make that whatsoever, but not a comfortable feeling when you're just yanking that wheel to the left so soon on just your second trip around the circuit, and a caution is brought out. We're catching it on board, and we watch the 3. I mean, just kind of comes down. It really wasn't clear. I'm not exactly sure what happened. I think it was just an overcorrection and maybe a little bit of an overreaction, thinking he was going to be up in the wall and wanted to protect himself. Or his cat jumped up.
Reminds me of Mark Kalin with that right there. Mark gets scared when he's about to hit a wall. Figure since he's going to pick on you, I pick on him a little bit.
I appreciate that.
When Mark's up against the wall, if he doesn't commit to it, he'll yank it down a little bit. And he really don't care who's below him. Couple times that happens in practice. A couple times in practice.
Okay, fair enough.
Mark's a good guy though, except for that god-awful Kentucky blue he wears. That's about the only thing bad about Mark Kalin is that god-awful Kentucky blue that he dons all the time and lights up a bunch of stuff around him. But I wouldn't...
You wouldn't happen to have strong opinions about collegiate sports?
No, not at all. About I don't even know anything about collegiate sports or any NCAA athletics or anything. I couldn't tell you. So weird.
You wouldn't volunteer that information?
Not at all. No, I would never openly volunteer myself to disclose what I know about the NCAA or not.
That is true and fair. Tristan Callahan going back down pit road, already actually was in pit road and now coming out of it to a very slow speed. This pit road speed limit, I believe it is 45 miles per hour, actually 40 miles per hour. He was going a little bit below that. He gets back to the end of the line, and we're back to racing. Green flag on lap 7 of what is scheduled for 200, but I don't know if we're going to hit 200 here, Terry. We are told that it will not hit 200.
Yeah, I think it says we're going to hit 195 was kind of the point that we were going to hit. But I want to hit a point that Trent Dinkel talked about last week, and he talked about not getting green flag racing.
Oh, Brian slid all the way up. By the way, I'm sorry to cut you off there, Terry.
This is why we don't get green flag racing. This is the point I was making. Is he said he would love green flag strategy. That pit strategy that you can put into the race. And a lot of drivers just sitting it in there. And especially here at Richmond, you have an opportunity to overdrive the corner, but make up for it on exit. And that we see that a lot in the Cup cars now with how little downforce it kind of gives you. And it's hard to pass. And you see here the 78, Bruno Mello just kind of said, hey, and 27's in the wall.
No yellow, only turned to around a 45-degree angle. I think that was a similar situation, and he actually overcorrected it and swung it back into the wall himself. But we keep on keeping on And this 1 hour, 24 minute, and 30-second remaining time race continues with Landon Mills leading Trent Dinkle, Abner Acosta in front of Joshua Daniels, Luke Christian in 5th. You know, it's never too early to talk about championship standings, and I know we can talk all about the numbers and the specifics that we want to. We know that Trent Dinkle has had a very, very poor result already this year from incidents, I believe Atlanta, where he only got 11 points. Here's the thing that's astonishing to me. Every race so far that Dinkle has finished, his minimum amount of points taken from that race is 42. I mean, he's been in the 50s. He's maxed it out twice. And that's quite amazing. We're going to see a replay real quick of Campbell. Actually, there was some contact with Bruno Mello. And then this is on Campbell. Doesn't get hit from behind. He just kind of goes into the wall. So contact, maybe not his fault in the corner, but that issue was over with by the time he accidentally sent himself into the outside wall. But what I was trying to say about Dinkle, he's been consistently at least 42 points every race, except for that one all result. And that wouldn't matter too much if he wasn't going to miss another race, as again, some contact out of 4. Almost since the other car flying. Landon Mills, on the other hand, his worst result was 33. His second worst result was 39. Everything else has been very consistently 40 points, 40 points, 41 points. Very consistent around 40 points. If you can consistently put up numbers after a race at around 40 points, and even with a drop week factored in, I think that might be enough to win the championship over Dinkle. But that's hard. That's really hard. And I think Dinkle's going to still stay in it, even as that final race plays out at Watkins Glen, where he's not going to even be racing in it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun to watch as the points, dwindle themselves down with the races. As we got smoke up front. That's Papanow. Something with him. Looks like
Cowgill apologizes. Actually, yeah, Cowgill got into the back of Eric Papanow, and we'll see the replay right here, just going a little bit too slowly for Cowgill's liking, and just kind of semi-dumps Papanow, but also got out of the gas to say, hey, I'm sorry, like, get back settled. But there was a pretty big lick taken there on the left front on Papanow's machine, and I think we see a big difference in speeds from the top drivers in this race to the drivers who are already 7-8+ seconds down.
Yeah, but track position is going to be a big key. And if you're a lot of these drivers who are back here, like Chris Hudson in 12th and Gamble in 13th and Cowgill, Maverick Davis, who was having a good run last week, just kind of couldn't capitalize towards the end of the race. If you're any of these drivers right here in this circled group of drivers, flip the strategy a little bit. Take 2 tires at some point in time. See if that strategy works out for you. If we go green, stay out a little longer. Let everybody else cycle through. Let people come down pit lane. Who cares what it does? If the caution comes out with old tires and new tires and something wrecks, you have an opportunity to keep that track position. It's not as hard to pass here, but it's difficult enough to pass. You see the battle for 6 going on your screen. That's Pat Harvey and James O'Brien.
We see that the 7 almost was wrecked on the front stretch, but we see O'Brien clearing himself, going up to the wall and getting the best run he can out of 3 and 4. Good little battle forming behind the top 2 right now. Mills is starting to pull away from Dinkle. You do have to wonder, though, is Mills using too much of the tires up to try and do that? You see that? You don't see that gap. That's how far in front right now. Around 2+ seconds, from Dinkle back to Acosta. So top 2 definitely. Look at that gap right now. You see out the rear. That private label team hype number 9 machine is definitely pulling away from 3rd on back, which makes what Landon Mills is doing right now, going consistently 7/10 up on Dinkle. So not surprising, but so good for him in this race. The question is he burning the tires up? This is a marathon kind of race. It takes a lot of mental fortitude to race well at a short track like Richmond.
Well, I mean, if you look at lap time wise, when they came across the line that last time, Trent was faster. Not by much, but he was faster. And you see here with Jose and Pat Harvey. Jose was one of those guys that I thought was going to come in here and have a good run. And he's starting to climb up the field just a little bit, trying to get to the inside to take the 7th place position away. And then, he's got 2 drivers in front of him, and James O'Brien and Luke Christian fighting it out there for the 5th place position. So, you got a lot of good battles. That's all formulated right here behind your top 4 that have slowly started to check out. It's a 105-degree track heat too, as you see our track conditions on the screen there in the bottom right. 79 degrees outside, ambient-wise for these racers, but then it's 105 for the track. That makes it very slippery off exit, and that's what we've seen in the first little part of this race under the caution, and some that should have been cautions is you light the rear tires up when you get off the exit of the corner. If you don't paint that bottom lane, if that's where your car is the best at, and you go outside of that groove, you're going to be in for a bad day. We saw that early as the fight for 5th keeps going.
And if we have long green flag runs, the more that these drivers slide the rear tires, coming out of 2, coming out of 4, the worse their times are going to be in the long run, which is really going to reward the drivers kind of taking it easy on quarter exit right now. It's hot. The rubber is going to melt even easier than ever. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of drivers sometimes prefer this race, maybe at night, if not for the hotter temperatures in the car, driver comfort-wise. But hey, we're in sim. We don't have to worry about that as Christian tries to defend a move from Jose Acosta for 6th, who dives underneath. They're side-by-side down this backstretch, which unfortunately Richmond Raceway does not have that many stands anymore as of a few years ago. It's kind of barren around the course right now.
Yeah, I wish we'd go back in the nighttime here, but that's a topic for a different day. I don't understand why we race this in the daytime. It makes no sense. You take a great short track night race off the schedule to replace it with a day race in July, of all things. Kind of makes no sense. You see 3 wide right here. Yeah, that's 3 wide for 13th. You got Hunt up top. That's Gandy.
15's going to really send it in there. That's going to hurt his front tires in the long run, but he does get the position and clears as the 8 and the 16 are side by side. So, hey, take that short or long-term hurt for some potential long-term gain as well. You gotta give a little bit to take what you want, and that's exactly what we saw from Maverick Davis right there. Rachel Hunt gonna fight on the outside of Skip Gandy, who got a little bit loose, but we rejoin the battle going on up front as Landon Mills is starting to slow a little bit with Trent Dinkle catching up. That gap was at around 7/10 just a number of laps ago. Now it's under 4/10, and we're going under 3/10. Let's look on board with Landon Mills. You see there are specks of cars in front. Traffic is going to play a big part here if we do have long green flag runs.
Yeah, racing here last season in the Xfinity car, I felt like I was competitive, but I also got lapped, and I got wrecked going a lap down. This is a difficult place because you could go 35, 40 laps and easily catch yourself into traffic. And to touch the story we were just on with Maverick Davis, he was one of the drivers that was not allowed to qualify. He's one of the faster guys who's been up front good majority of the season. He's come from all the way in the back to be a part of the battles. So if you want to circle a guy that could potentially get up here and mix it up with a lot of these top 5, top 10 drivers, I think that 15 might be the one to go with. But we're going to have to break this race up. You're not going to break this race into half like we normally see, because we're back to the 200 lap mark. We were at 195. We're back up there because we've went green flag for a good extended period of time. So we're starting to be under time to put us at that mark. I think you would want to break this up into 50s.
I agree. I don't know if we want to break this up into 50s. Maybe 66. Yeah, maybe that would be exactly what I would do with a two-stop race. Obviously, cautions change strategy, but if this race were to go green the entire way, breaking it down in thirds, yes, they could go halfway, but tire degradation is going to be so high, and it's going to be such a battle all day for these drivers. We see the 31 and the 23 fighting right now. These are two drivers that are fighting, and they're around halfway up the track from the leaders. Now, he was 21 seconds back, and that could seriously he's not far back from the rest of the field. So leaders are going to catch traffic in big ways very quickly. And actually, in front of Mills is a Macy right now. So you don't see at the moment. There you go. So that's the first of the lap traffic. And right after Macy is Richard Pruitt in 31st, and then a whole hornet's nest of lap traffic to deal with pretty consistently all the way throughout. So I don't know. Do you give it to the veteran in Dinkel, or do you give it to the relatively young driver in Landon Mills? We see Dinkel almost throw it away right there, but everything is good. Who would you take in a battle for first in the top two spots when traffic gets involved here?
It's hard to say. I mean, it's hard to call from up here because you want to look at the overall body of work. We haven't seen any of them in traffic yet. You've seen Dinkel chase down Mills, but you don't know how that traffic's going to race. You would imagine that. Yeah, right here. I mean, that was he's moving in the corner, but it was a bad spot to catch him. He caught a Macy off the exit of the corner and had to follow all the way down the straightaway, and that lost him a good bit of time. Almost made it a full
lost
second.
Him half a second.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that if you're looking at it from hindsight's 2020, whoever pits first out of this group, this would be the person that should leapfrog here. But Trent's got a good long run car. He was a little bit slower that lap, obviously, by 0.3 because the lap car. But we'll see what this lap brings us. He looks a little bit slower than what our leader's doing. As he's pulling back just a little bit.
So I really think we're going to start to see 20 to 25 laps from now. I think we're going to start to see pit stops from the majority of the leaders. Maybe a different roll of the dice and strategy from cars that are about to go a lap down. And here's the other thing. The faster that these cars in the back of the pack get lapped, the more intense the battling starts to become, and the more treacherous it is for the leaders to try and get around, because this is, I wouldn't call it a single groove racetrack as we ride on board from the hood cam of Landon Mills, but I would call this a track where there is a definite preferred line, and if you kind of get shuffled back, if you get caught in behind like Dinkel has been a few times through his pursuit in the beginning of traffic of Landon Mills, then it could lead to a lot of time lost. We see that Patrick Cowgill is going to be the first to blink and go down pit road. I think Cowgill, though, remember, was involved in some incidents earlier in the race that got him sent back. But maybe he'll roll the dice and get going here.
Well, some of them seem to be trying my strategy, and we'll see how many of them stay on y'all's strategy. But I think we're going to see a caution. I think drivers who come down pit road decently early, I think we're going to see a caution flag that's going to shake this up just a little bit. They'll have a temporary gain out of it with the fresh tires, and I see it from all angles of the sides. If you're Landon Mills, you're Dinkel, you're Acosta, you're one of those drivers, you want to pit 65, 66. You break this up into a different box where you're going to stop twice. You don't want to stop forward. You want to try to stop as least amount of times as possible and cut a pit stop out. With the track conditions being the way that they are, you see a lot of sideways drivers. out here on the racetrack. They want to get those tires off of it. And I see it either being a caution or I see them, because this is a big ass hornet's nest in front of the lead. We're going to see somebody do something.
This is a little bit nerve-wracking for Landon Mills right now, especially. Trent Dinkle's just got to catch up and kind of stay relatively in close. Mills is potentially getting into 3-wide action. Oh, he is going to try and send it down the inside 3-wide, and he almost forces an incident between the 27 and the 24, or forced basically some contact between Matthew Campbell and I believe Tristan Callahan, or
that's Pruitt.
Richard Pruitt. Yeah, Richard Pruitt. But hey, Mills is making it through traffic with I would call it relative ease, as well. It just eased up with Papineau going down pit lane right now, and now there's some open space right in front of Mills. I gotta say, a little bit aggressive, but it was really strong from Mills right there. He handled those drivers. They handled that hornet's nest with relative ease. And look at how far Dinkle is starting to fall back. And look at Abner Acosta starting to catch up. The gaps you see on screen are the intervals between each driver individually. And Acosta's starting to catch up a little bit to Dinkle because of this traffic.
What's that song from Shrek? I made it through the wilderness. You know, I made it through. Go
on.
That's all I got. I only can get 10 seconds with the DECA or DMCA. Yeah, I got 10 seconds. So
I mean, hey now.
You're a rock star?
Oh goodness.
I mean, if you're looking right here at the gaps, just the gaps across the board. And I'm looking right now at the gap on our side of what we see from the leader to the respective position. If you're sitting back there and you're Robert Beasall Jr., who has a pit stop under his belt, mind you, granted it was only 4 laps difference than our 5 laps difference than our race leaders, that's an advantage.
It's a big advantage for right now, but it quickly dissipates.
Exactly. It dissipates. It goes away. But the thing that I'm looking at, if you're Robert Beasall Jr. at this very moment, and there he is, you're going to stay out as long as possible. That puts him at lap 71 coming down pit road, 70 to 71. That sets him up if we potentially go all 200. He goes longer than everybody else praying for the caution. And then everybody else is going to follow him on pit road. Because something that was said on the broadcast today on NBC or USA is you would rather, even if you put 2 laps of wear on the tires, you're going to come take 4. These drivers are loose. They're going to come in for an adjustment. They're going to come in for tires. And I think this is the guy in the catbird seat. If we stay green through a cycle, which we should see it in 7-8 laps.
Picture yourself in the middle of a desert. You've been dying of thirst for days, and you get offered just a little bit of water for the last half-mile stretch of your journey. Richard Pruitt is getting his water right now with 4 tires.
I would rather somebody hand me an ice-cold Coca-Cola Zero Sugar.
I'm not disappointed.
And if they hand me a Pepsi, I'm gonna slap the fire out of their mouth.
How about a Celsius?
Yeah, straight right in the throat.
Right to jail, believe it or not.
I won't even second guess just punching them in the throat if they try to hand me a Pepsi. It's nothing but Coca-Cola Zero Sugar here.
Fair enough. We are still waiting for the majority of drivers to head down pit lane. We're on lap 60 of 200 right now. I also think some drivers are considering the fact that this race might not, if we get cautions, might not go to lap 200. You still got to plan as if everything is going as scheduled, because no cautions, no yellows are guaranteed. You got to create the strategy for the actual timing itself. I'm curious to see, check out the speed difference right now with Dinkle and Patrick Cowgill. Look at that. Dinkle is losing all the time in the world. Almost gets into the wall. He's struggling right now. He's really struggling. Surprising that Dinkle has fallen so much, but look at the speed difference between 4 tires and 60-lap old tires, even with 1 caution period in them. Dinkel cannot compete with these 4 tires as well. And right behind him is Abner Acosta, who has handled his tires with brilliance right now. And I think he's about to not only catch up to Dinkel, he's only a few car lengths back, but I think he's going to pass him. Oh, Dinkel is loose on X. Dinkel he is one of the drivers that needs that little drop of water right now.
Yeah, and track conditions definitely, I don't think has played into account what Trent's done or what he's wanted to do in this race. Because I mean, he's fell back 3 seconds, almost 4 seconds off the race leader by having to burn the tires up, and he's going to let Abner go by here. He's not going to race his teammate too hard.
Smart.
He knows that he's going to have to let him by, and he's going to get on his bumper. But this is,
he got really close to his bumper there. Oh, you see what's going on behind?
There it is.
We reckon we're
he
fine.
grinded
We're fine,
his coffee bean.
Oh, and 35 almost got a little bit too much speed entering pit road. We'll have to take a look in a few moments at what happened right there. All good. Everything's fine. Landon Mills still in the lead, and right behind Mills is Brandon Walter, who is now a lap down as well. Or excuse me, right in front of Mills is Walter, who is about to go a lap down if Mills catches him. A lot of drivers going a lap down. Oh, and we see the replay right there. Did you think that that was a brilliant execution of holding the brakes on a wreck, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely. This is twice we've seen it where we have avoided a caution. I mean, we had an interesting nugget come across our screen here that, last time they raced here, there was 2 cautions in the first 6 laps. We saw the early caution, which was just, cold tires, hot racetrack. That adds for disaster, and that's what we got. But now that we've single filed out, we've strung this field out, we have went green all the way through. We've had a couple near misses for caution flags, which we'll see it right here with the 35. But
yeah, we'll see this pretty up close. Just getting a little bit loose, and
what a mess.
Look at this wreck avoidance. Oh boy, that was fantastic. All right, so we've got some
lap 69. Nice.
Trent. Yeah, nice. Trent Dinkel in the 9 machine will head down pit lane right now, and he's going to be the first to blink. Mills stays out another lap. Abner Acosta will also stay out another lap, but as suspected, once one of the leaders goes into the pits, everybody else will follow. Up until this past lap where Dinkel went in, the top 24 had not gone into the pits. Everyone over the radio saying, pitting, pitting, pitting. It's going to be a madhouse heading into pit lane. This is also the spot where it is most dangerous to be caught out here, because entering and exiting the pits, especially at Richmond, is no easy task. Mills stays out another lap, as does Acosta, as does Daniels and Jose Acosta as well. Abner and Jose both staying out. So this is going to be interesting, because the advantage has definitely swung, at least for a few laps time, into Trent Dinkel's favor. Is Mills and other drivers thinking about making this a one-stop race? I mean,
Potentially. They can try it. It'll be interesting to see if it works or not. I just don't know. I think it's gonna be very difficult if that's what they want to do. Yeah, I mean they're kind of in the way, and they're gonna be in the way with the fresh tires coming around. This is how cautions form. You get fresh tires, old tires, trying to fight it out, be on different strategies. But this is what green flag racing provides: is good hard racing, good clean racing. But it's gonna be weird.
I love that what you just said, that it's going to be weird, because we don't exactly know what the right strategy call is, and we know the opinions, and we know that at this point Terry, I think some drivers have kind of dug their heels in where it doesn't make sense to go dip your toes in one strategy and in another as well. Still the top, all the top 5 right now, still staying out. There's a lot of drivers who I think are going to try and make this a one-stopper. Drift City.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. There's a lot of smoke around the racetrack. You're going to get that a lot. You're going to get a lot of things. We got report that a Macy was in the wall. We'll take a look at the replay here in just a second. There it is. Just kind of washed up the racetrack, and I think he was trying to go to pit road.
Yeah, and actually that's a really good example of how slick this track is. You lock up the brakes, you try and slow the car down. It's almost like ice, especially once you get up into the marbles. You just slide up into the wall. There's no way you can turn the machine down into pit road. It's really easy to think that you can commit sort of late at Richmond because you are braking kind of into pit lane, but I feel like that is fool's gold to try and make up time on pit entry because it's so easy to not only miss pit lane, but end your race by hitting the attenuator.
That's a big word.
You like that?
I did. Attenuator.
Yes.
What's the definition of that?
Nah, man.
I'm going to use that. Yeah, look it up for me. Get back to me on what that one is, because I'm going to use that word if it fits in a sentence at work. And I'm just going to sound like a big old smarty idiot.
Wait a second. I think I used the wrong word. Hold on.
Yeah, it sounded good in a sentence.
Okay, so the
attenuation.
The attenuator is a foam piece designed by Coastal Automotive to keep drivers safe at the end of like at the pit wall. However, it's also an electronic device that reduces the power of a signal without distorting its waveform. So we might be talking about just reducing kinetic energy here.
So technically, we have an attenuator too during the broadcast. So we transmit the wave out for the broadcast. That attenuator is there as well. That's my story. Yeah, I'll stick to it.
Sure. Okay. Well, let's talk some pit strategy again real quick. A lot of these drivers have stayed out. A lot of them have come in. By my count, I see 11, 12, 13.
Don't count too hard
14.
now.
Yeah, no, I know. I see 14 drivers that are right now employing the one-stop strategy, or at least trying to get as close to one stop as possible. I mean, I don't know what the right call is. I really don't, which is why
the one that wins you the race. That's the right call.
If only it were that simple to have hindsight.
The one that's going to win the race, the best call that we're going to see. I mean, I still look at Robert B. Saul Jr. I still think that this is the best strategy. Well, he pitted early because he was involved in that early caution. He had a 12-second stop.
Not early enough.
I don't care. If a caution comes out and the rest of these drivers come down pit lane and he's the only one out and the caution waves, he gains a ton of track position. I don't care if he wins the race. The track position is what he needs. And we've seen it time and time again on a short track, especially in these cars. If you get track position, you hold the key to the race. You might not win it, but you stay up front even without speed because you pretty much bottleneck the field to where you can't do anything around. These cars are just hard to make it unless you're really aggressive on it. Then you burn your stuff up and you let that person get it. It's good time. It's good time. It's Macy still struggling.
To give you all an idea, caution is out. Caution is out. There's a wreck going into turn 1 on the front stretch. It's Callahan practically kissing Scotty Johnson. And Johnson was one of those drivers who was on a one-stop strategy. Meanwhile, I think it was Callahan.
He was a lap down anyhow.
Well, still, yeah. So we'll see the replay here. This throws things all the way out. Where only 9 cars were on the lead lap. We're going to see here from in behind, and cars are going to come down pit road on the live screen. And Callahan gets inside and
clears himself up.
Yeah, I don't know if it was kind of a meeting in the middle.
I didn't look like that red
tell.
car. If I said don't look like that red car moved, I don't think that top car moved. I think that bottom lane went up. But here for a second. This is going to be fun. You remember when I said that I thought the 3 was in the catbird seat, was in the best position? Everybody else is going to have to take the wave around, except for Trent. Trent's going to start at the tail end of the longest line for being the wave around, or the free pass. The wave around cars are going to possibly be the likes of Medina, Dixon, Gandy, Bartel, Papanow, Cowgill, Walter, Gamble. I don't think Scotty Johnson. I think he's going to have to pit by smoking them things. But it's just all
right. So
they're going to have to drive through the field.
Dinkle is. If I'm Trent Dinkle, I'm going down pit road, which is exactly what he's doing. So
well, he's going to have to drive through the field.
He was not on. No. He's not going to have to drive through the field. He was the first car a lap down.
He was the free pass. Exactly. The free pass is the tail end of the longest line.
Well, but look at all the wave arounds.
I don't give a crap about the wave arounds. What they
Terry,
shouldn't
you
be.
Have to. What? Terry,
the free pass. I thought the free pass went to the backpack.
But the wave arounds go behind the free pass.
Well, I mean, he's still going to have to drive. He's still going to have to drive through the field.
Yes. Hold on, real quick. 07.
Okay. The 07.
Did not come down. By the way,
that was poor management there.
Johnson definitely did not.
All I'm saying is he's still going to have to drive through the field. He's still got to go through all those drivers to get his position up there. Yeah, he's 10th, but driving from 10th to the lead when you haven't been the fastest car, Dylan, like he has not been the fastest.
I mean, he's not been the fastest, but over the course of a 60-lap almost run, he's been the second fastest. And if it not for Abner Acosta, he would have been second fastest for even a longer stretch there. What I'm saying is a lot of cars are going to take the wave around. I think 11 cars. There are 2 cars that are not in this race. So let's just say 31 cars are right now in this race. The way I think it's going to line up, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're seeing the wave around cars starting to head around now. It's going to be the cars that are on the lead lap, followed by the cars that do not take the wave around, and I don't know how many are not, but they're probably all the ones that are 2 laps down. And then it's going to be the free pass car, which is Dinkle. He's not terribly far back. And he'll have fresher tires. Well, not fresher. He'll have the same length of tires. It didn't work out in Dinkle's favor. He needed a couple more laps there to get back onto the lead lap before that. By the way, everyone is still trying to fight to get back going to wave around. And we're back to green flag racing. Why the hell did we throw the
green on that?
That's insane right there.
We should have delayed that. Like, you got all those drivers that was coming through turns 3 and 4 just flying. I mean, they were hoping that it was going to get delayed because they weren't even lined up. We wasn't even 2 by 2. Like, you had the top 7 rows was on top of each other. Then you had a row 8 on back. It was like, hey, fam, hey, come on now. I'm already 10 seconds behind the leader.
Well, to give you an idea of where Dinkle is, he's kind of lined up 17th, I believe, right now. So, yeah, very far back. Did not work out for him. He's going to have to try and avoid all the potential calamity that can come from this battle. Nonetheless, in second, it's Joshua Daniels, who started the race in 7th, but he's shown some speed. Abner Acosta in 3rd with Bruno Mello, who was one of the big winners from that pit cycle and that yellow coming out when it did, as well as Chris Hudson. And I wouldn't necessarily call Robert Beasall Jr. a big winner there, Terry. I would say he's kind of par for the course, neutral out of that whole situation. But he's getting chased right now by the 8 car of Skip Gandy, who's the first car lap down. So everyone is miscombobulated around 10 cars deep and back. But top 10, it's pretty much stable. We know the top runners are all running up front, and Landon Mills is not able to get away so easily right now from Joshua Daniels. Definitely gaining him this lap down.
Well, we saw on the initial start of the race too for Landon, he wasn't able to pull away on the short run. When he got 10, 15 laps down the road, he was gone. But what the heck do you mean you wouldn't call the 3 car a big winner in this? He was involved in a caution. He caused it, went to the back of the field, and here he is back inside the top 10 with a huge net gain. I mean, it's a massive net gain. The only time we've necessarily talked about him in any light of being in contention for a top 5 was the initial part of this race. And he was back into the fence on the bottom. And now here he sits in 8th with just as good as a shot as anybody. He's got Chris Hudson right in front of him. He can see a driver.
I'm talking about net gain over the course of the whole race. He had a net loss going on, and he got it back to net neutral.
I don't give a crap about what
semantics,
his net loss was. I don't care about semantics either. I care about that he has rebounded from one spot to the next. I don't care what net gain. I could start first, fall my happy butt back to 22nd, and then wake my way back up to first after a bad run. It's a good rebound. It's like getting dumped in middle school, and the very next week you find something better. That's a good rebound.
All right. Do you see the chat going on in the booth? The booth chat. We argue like a married couple, Terry.
Well, just some of the things you say.
Some of the things you say, Terry.
I sit here and question where we're going with the conversation half the time, because if you look at the gap from one spot to the next, you think that the gap is going to be great. And if you circle what a lot of these drivers do, and I mean, look at Dinkel for a second. He was 10th. He's gained 1 spot since we went back green flag racing here. Is that are we going to call are we going to call him a big net loser? We going to call him a loser in this whole?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I bet say if we're calling a spade, we might as well call it a spade. He didn't do it on his own. He didn't back into a fence. He didn't clear himself on somebody's nose. He used strategy that did not work. And he got the wrong end of the stick, and that's what we talked about to start the show, is that strategy would stink. I mean, the battle for the lead, I'm sure Landon Mills didn't think that his car was going to start fading here on this second run, but the track's rubbered in. And Joshua Daniels has figured something out there in that dirt devil machine.
Check out the track temperature right now. It's dropped 3 degrees since the start of the race, mostly cloudy, so those clouds blocking out the sun, but the track is definitely getting rubbered in, more grip at the bottom of the track at one point, but actually hit a high of 110. Our PRL admin, Nick Hunter, is giving us some wonderful information behind the scenes.
Don't call him wonderful.
Oh, man, just showing up with clenched fists tonight, Terry.
I mean...
Hey, my whole thing about Beasall Jr. is from the start of the race, he made a mistake and rebounded nicely. But over the course of the whole race, it's still the same from what he started. He definitely rebounded nicely, though. And that yellow from where he was at definitely helped him. And it was a net positive after the wreck. I was just talking about the whole race. He got himself back to where he was originally.
Don't care about the whole race. I care about right here and now.
Specify that.
You know what? I'm going to write you a book before every race we do. And I'm going to say what I care about.
This is the
I'm going to title it, Terry Cares About This.
not volunteers football. Gotcha.
What at the moment though, if you look at the trends that we've seen here, I don't take the first caution as a trend. I'm going to eliminate that caution. If we look at the trend that we saw already, and this has been in most races in the PRL for the NASCAR side of the things, not the road side, there's no cautions over there. But in the oval side, caution flags have not necessarily breeded caution flags in the latter part of the season. The early part of the season in the Trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup, cautions kind of stayed pretty fluent if we had one pop up. But right at the moment, we saw that early caution happen, and I'll take that completely out of the equation. Then we saw a nice green flag run, 80 laps plus. If that trend stays, if that trend stays the same, we'll have a restart with potentially 40 to go. And if that happens, I would not be surprised if you see a driver like Acosta, like Joshua Daniels, maybe bump those air pressures down just a wee bit to try to make it a little bit looser. If we have something under 20, I think you're really going to have to make a swing at it to get that short run burst speed out of it, because you don't have that with Mills. He's going to have to find something. He has that long run. Here we are, lap 22 of this run, now 23. He stretched it out to 7, almost 0.8 of a second. In that early little run, he didn't have that fire-off speed, Dylan. We'll have to see if he can find it. If the trend stays the same, we'll have a restart within 20 to go.
You know, you bring up an interesting point about the air pressure adjustments. If we had a restart with an abbreviated potential green flag run to the end of the race, do you mind kind of just telling everybody what you would do in terms of which tires you would make air pressure adjustments on? Obviously, one side, if you inflate the right rear but deflate the left rear, does the same thing pretty much. But
yeah, I mean,
know
I
we
would
talk air pressure adjustments. What do they mean?
I'm going to take some out of the right. I'm going to take some out of the right rear tire. That's going to make it drive just a little bit looser. You'll be a little bit more on edge. You just want it to come down, leave everything else the same. The interesting point we talked about last week, the track bar. There is no adjustment anymore. Here, if you go to, there used to be, but if you look at the Xfinity car and the truck, you still have the track bar adjustment that you can make left or right to kind of help yourself rotate, or if you rotate too much, you take some rotation out. But here in the Cup car with the next gen, you really could change a whole lot with the sequential shifter. I know this is going to sound stupid when I say this, but I started looking more and reading a little bit more into this. If you change the gear ratio in these, that affects a lot of how this car turns. Whether you're putting more torque into the rear tires or you're putting less torque in the rear tires. Because once you downshift, all of that forward momentum is taking you either in the corner or it's going to take you out of the corner. And what I mean by that, before anybody goes, oh, that sounds dumb, putting yourself into the corner means that when you downshift in a 5th gear racetrack, here you have a 4-gear setup, and a lot of these drivers are running 4 gears. They're not going to run 5 because it's just too much to go. But if you had a 5-gear setup and you went to shift down and the car wants to bottom out, it wants to shoot you up the racetrack, you just took yourself out of the corner. But if your ratio from 5th to 4th to 3rd or 5th to 4th is able to plant and you feel the nose plant and you're able to let it rotate, the back end wants to turn, not spin you out, but if you want the back end to turn as well, then you're put yourself into the corner. So it all starts with the rear end ratio. It all starts right there. And for a lot of these drivers, especially Landon Mills, he has something that fires off weird. It doesn't fire off right. But once you get down the road and the tires start to build pressures, then you see them start to take off.
That's an interesting thing you bring up as we see this ferocious battle for second that's been going on for most of this run with Joshua Daniels. It's the Daniels train pretty much right now. He's within a second of Mills, but has been losing ground over the last few laps. That might change with lap traffic coming up. Now, when you downshift into the corner, it can almost help the... Oh, Cowgill into the attenuator. and will just go back. So, wonder if he said this is race over for him. We stay green with just over 80 to go. Actually blew his engine. So that is race over. You see on the replay, doesn't look like he was coming down pit lane. I think he might have just, oh, he was. He was, and remember what I was just saying about how hard it is to really get down pit road? I love when what I say comes to fruition. Not for the pain, his pain, but more for my point. Because you know, Terry, as we all know, I like being right.
Well, I just wonder now,
right.
Since he's out of the race, we'll find out what setup shop he rides for. Like, whose setup does he use in these races? I've been wanting to know that since, like, lap, I think, 60.
That means you've been wanting to know this for 62 laps.
I've been wanting to know it for a while. I want to know, hey, I think he's ready for an interview. Let's grab him.
Yeah, let's get him in.
Patrick, I got a burning question for you.
What's that?
What setup shop do you use during these races?
VRS.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. I was just asking. I was curious all race long because it looked like you were struggling there. What happened in this race? What we know you blew up. You caught the you said attenuator, Dylan?
That's what we're calling it.
Okay. You caught the barrels,
Yeah, the barrels
down there. What was the track like, and what was the biggest struggle in the car today?
My biggest struggle is I didn't have the brakes. I couldn't even think to set whenever I was going into the corner, and so about halfway through the run, I was getting stupid tight. Yeah, it was crap.
I hear a very sexy voice in your background. Is that Terry Radford?
Sorry, I had the broadcast playing in the background.
I wouldn't call that a sexy voice, Terry.
Well, it sounds pretty good. Well, Patrick, who do you think's gonna win this race?
Definitely Landon. I mean, he's got the speed, so.
Well, we'll definitely see if that comes to fruition. Abner Acosta definitely showing some speed. Hasn't really been unleashed to travel after Mills until right this instant. Appreciate it, Patrick. This is your.
We love you.
We do love you. This
guys.
is your infield care center. You've been released. This is your interview afterwards.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking
I
about-
wonder if he has talent, like singing wise, if he could sing or something. Maybe sing us a nice little melody.
I know you don't.
I sound.
I'm sorry,
I
Terry.
got told.
You
in
sang
this,
earlier.
I got told that I had the voice of Fergie and Jesus. So
Well,
take that as you must.
I will. I shall. I shall. I shall. I shall. You shall. That's what you do.
Dinkle and not eighth. Trying
Yeah,
to
so
fight
can we-
Chris
can we-
Hudson here.
Can we talk about Trent Dinkle right now? Because he's starting to really gain some positions, track position. He might not have gained that many positions, but he had to work through all the cars that were a lap down. And now he's part of the lead car battle. He gets into 7th. The 43 kind of gets a little bit loose. Hudson gets it corrected, though. He's still trying to hang on the outside, but can't do that as they exit 4 onto this curved front straight, where the start-finish line is much closer to turn 4 than turn 1, and that leads to some interesting races off the corner exit. But Dinkle has moved himself into 7th. The only cars in between he and the leader are the top, 5 and top 6 cars, and of course one of them being Mills. So Dinkle's doing a good job to get back there. Abner Acosta's doing a good job of just kind of hanging in there as well. We'll see where they start to catch this lapped traffic. And we'll also see where these drivers decide they want to go into the pits. We see Trent Dinkle, that's this very... You see that look, you see that team shirt every single weekend. I'll tell you what, he's got some media training right there.
Yeah, he just always looks extremely focused and angry. I don't know why he always looks angry, but he just looks angry all the time.
Sometimes focus shows in a
angrily way. Like he
Yes.
just looks like if you walk up behind him, he's just gonna just sucker punch you. He's just gonna
Look at
sock
that
you
move.
one.
Dinkle going underneath the 67 and says, thank you very much, I'll clear you. He's starting to run through the field. He's in the 6 right now, and the next car in front is Jose Acosta, Bruno Mello. And then he'll be in the top 4 if he passes them. I wouldn't count Dinkle out. I think this is a 3-horse race. If we get a short run, I could see, and Joshua Daniels is still up there. Joshua Daniels has some good short run speed. I don't think he's got some great long run speed. I think Acosta's got good long run speed. I think Dinkle's got some medium run speed, and I think Mills is just good at all times. It's going to take a monumental effort, and you cost him this race. He's definitely the dominant driver in this one. But Dinkle's still moving through the field. You have to wonder when the final pit stops, at least under green, will occur with 65 laps to go now as we go to lap 136 left in this race. The actual length of the stints right now, it's around 48 laps for the entire lead group of cars. I mean, how much do you really want to go past that right now? Because there's a good battle going on right here where there's some contact between the 8 and I think that's the 33 of James O'Brien and Skip Gandy in the 8. There's a battle for 12th right now, and it's actually also a battle for the Lucky Dog spot as well. That's something to keep in mind, at least for the time being. So 49 laps and 64 to go. We do a little bit of math right there, and that's 113 laps. Aren't you proud of me, Terry?
Sounded right. I think
Now,
I
do you split? Oh, thank you. I am your calculator. Do you split that in half? And you go, 57, 56 each way?
I mean, you could. I mean, I don't.
Or do
see
you
it.
just stay out for as long as possible? The drivers that stay out for as long as possible, I think, are going to have the short end of the stick. If it goes green all the way, the drivers that go at that midpoint of the run, so in 5 laps time, I think if it stays green, I think they'll have the advantage by the end of the race. If you're Trent Dinkle, maybe you think about doing that. He's 4 seconds off the lead right now, and he's been really fast in the second long green flag run of the race. Maybe you think about doing that, as we're starting to see some drivers come down. Obviously, not all are on standard strategy. Up to Rachel Hunt, Floridian, going down into the pits. I love races where we get to see strategy play out. We see the stint lengths on screen right now. TJ Bartel, obviously, is he's got much more worn tires by about 20 laps, and he's at the tail end of the lead lap. Landon Mills is catching him. He's the car in behind, right there, entering turn 1. And man, you're hoping right now, if you're Bartel, you want a caution to come out right now. If not, I say go into the pits immediately once you get lapped right here. Or at least, maybe actually, I'm going to rephrase that. Wait until you are no longer able to continue going, or no longer the lucky dog spot.
I would go right here. I would pit this lap or next lap.
Cut your losses.
I mean, yeah, cut your losses now, because then it lets you, the moment you cycle back up, because he should come out right behind the race leader to go the second lap down. You get your lap back. I mean, he stayed out.
Not a bad idea. Not a bad call.
Yeah, he stayed out and attempted to stay on the lead lap. Once the caution came out, he stayed on the racetrack. But now you've already gotten caught. You might as well just come on in. I mean, I like your idea of splitting this into a half, like right now. But in retrospect, I'm staying out until I can't stay out anymore.
Okay, and I think that's a fair strategy as well. I also think that is a strategy where you're trying to hedge your bet on a caution coming out later on. If you decide to go right now, you want it to stay green the entire rest of the way. I don't know if that'll happen. Only the top 10 on speed right now is going to be on the lead lap as Mills gets around TJ Bartel, who stays out. So the top 10 are on the lead lap. Everybody else is a lap or 2 or 3 or continuing on laps down. I don't know what the right call is right here, Terry. I think a lot of drivers are going to try and stay out and do exactly what you're saying in fear that exact situation, that a caution comes out and you're caught down again and you're in Trent Dinkel's spot and you don't have the speed that Dinkel has or the time to catch back up. You know, Dinkel's still trying to fight back from an ill-timed caution. And yes, he's in 5th, but he's had to fight back from around 17th, 18th in the order on a restart. And of course, he's doing a very admirable job. This is, you know, I wouldn't, at that point, midway through the race, I would have called this for him a minimizing of damage kind of race. Now he's flipping it on its head and he's saying, hey, I can still get the maximum points. You watch IndyCar at all? Because that reminds me of Scott Dixon. He's always there. He always knows how to maximize his points. Even when he's having a bad day, he somehow ends up in the top 5, and it is ridiculous, and that's the reason he's got, I believe, 6 IndyCar championships.
I do not watch Redacted Car. It's never been.
I'm saying it.
Really been my thing. But no disrespect to Trent when I say this. He's going to go back and watch this broadcast. I'm sure he'll call me out if we can put up the last lap tracker up here on the ticker. He's not as fast as he was before. Either everybody else around him have picked up, and you see it here. He had a good last lap. He caught Jose, but Jose was also challenging for a lap car. So he had a lap car, and he was able to make this run. Everybody else around him has picked up. Like, everybody else has really been fighting, and they've made him work for it. And for Trent, it wasn't as easy as I'm sure he thought it was going to be, where he just would have been able to drive through the field. He's really having to put a big work for it. Skip Gandy's going to come off a pit road right here.
Yeah.
That's going to hamper Trent Dinkel as well, because that's going to put a lot more dirty air on his nose, which is going to make him even tighter and build tighter as the run progresses.
Well, I already think that there was a lot of dirty air on his hood, so I think that it's going to hurt the cars in front a little bit more because they're going to have to get out of the way. And potentially put themselves in compromising position while Dinkel's going to try and just kind of follow through. Nonetheless, I think most of the top runners, Terry, are doing exactly what you said you would do, which again, I don't think is a bad strategy at all. I think, especially with some cars going into the pits right now, I think they're all hedging their bets on another caution coming out. And if that does happen, and all of the top 10 stayed out, well, no positions gained, no positions lost, except on pit road. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, as we get through the...
This is scary, though.
Yeah, as we get through all of the run, it's going to get really terrifying. Mm-hmm. And it's going to continuously get terrifying because drivers are coming down pit lane. Drivers are staying out on the racetrack. And the more we do this, the more we keep this pace up. This has been a wonderful race. 2 cautions. I'm not saying that another caution would make it a bad race. I just think that it would take it out of the hands of the drivers. It would put it more into what the pit stop does. But man, this is going to be interesting because if they stay out, they're on lap 69 of the stint. You got some drivers on lap 67, some drivers on 66, some on 68, and it's going to be fun. And you got drivers on newer tires, like John Jones right here, that does not care that Trent Dinkel's trying to drive through this field.
No, not at all.
He doesn't care, and he's not gonna.
You worry about your race. Worry about yourself. I also think that TJ Bartel, remember we were talking about him? he has been on his set of tires for longer than anybody, and definitely longer than anybody who is at least within one lap of the leaders. He's been on this set of tires for now 88 laps, which is really remarkable. And he is still in a position where he is the first car a lap down if a yellow comes out. But he has definitely gotten to the place where, and this is, again, Terry is not listening to you. Why would why wouldn't he listen to you? But, like, he didn't cut his losses when we were saying could potentially happen. Now he's dug his grave, and he's really got to hope that a yellow comes out, because if not, then he's lost so much time in track position for no reason.
I mean, he's going to have to pit anyhow. He's on lap 89 of this stint.
Right, but he's like hoping that by the time that another car, by the time that Mills catches up to Luke Christian in 10th, who is currently the last car in the lead lap, he's hoping that before that happens, a caution comes out, and then Bartel can pit and be the lucky dog, the free pass. Dink is right behind Bartel right now and is making a move. I mean, here's an interesting thing. Bartel on the 90th lap of these tires, his lap time compared to, you know, completely fresh tires right here is Acosta makes a huge move and almost spins himself out. What a save. Jose Acosta tried to just send it down the inside of Trent Dinkle, and we almost had that caution that Bartel wanted. I have no idea what Jose Acosta was doing right there. He saw, I guess, a quick opening from Dinkle, but just sent it with no regard. Look at this.
Oh.
It was a
He
really
locked it
late
up before
lunge.
he touched him, though. Yeah, I mean,
he
locked
tried
it.
to get on.
I don't think that Jose really thought that he was going to be that deep into the corner. Like, I think when he got to the inside of the 74 of Bartel, I'm not 100% sure, because that's not a move that Jose makes. I think that maybe he thought that he was going to clear the 74. He was not thinking of dive bombing the 9 there. I think that was just he didn't see where Trent was at. He was just there, and Trent washed up.
It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. The fact that you saw the 42 lock it up right there shows me that he did not intentionally try to make a thing. But I think you have a good point. If you were TJ Bartel right there, I bet he was sitting there in his mirror going, "Yep, there it is. There's the caution."
Instead, Barney has dropped the yellow flag. We're getting word from our PRL admin, but nonetheless, Christian is still the last car in the lead lap. Bartel's still in that lucky dog, that free pass zone, but that's going to change fairly soon. Christian entering 3, Mills now entering 3. I think right then Bartel goes into the pits. You know, why are we talking about a car a lap down? Well, it's because it's an interesting strategic decision, and it was a gamble and a risk that does not look like it's going to pan out unless we have a caution immediately. Trent Dinkle still caught in 4th. Joshua Daniels holding strong in 3rd after Acosta. Still holding strong, 2.5 seconds back of Landon Mills, who's just been on fire this race. This is a dominant performance. Remember MTJ, New Hampshire, just 2 weeks ago. This is a butt whooping right now.
A good old-fashioned butt whooping too. And think about the people that he races with. Like, think about the people that are on the team. You got Kevin King, a Coke Series driver, out there, ripping and romping around, and a lot of good people over there that just know how to make setups, know how to be fast, just real respectful people. And I think you called a certain Kevin King to the win last Monday.
Well, Kevin King, when he races in RSR, he usually wins. You see this battle going on between John Jones and Rachel Hunt. really up close with Hunt's car, and she goes around the outside. And I like sometimes when these drivers diamond it as much as they can. It's not easy in these corners. It's just enough banking as compared to something like New Hampshire. And it's not as, the turning radius is not as wide or as long as New Hampshire. But sometimes you do see drivers trying to diamond it. You know what my favorite track to diamond, just to see cars try and diamond that? It's Dover. Because it looks spectacular when you do it right.
Yeah, Dover's interesting. Dover has its own thing, and this ought to be a fun.
Look at
little,
this.
Yeah, this ought to be a fun little battle.
Yeah, Bruno Mello on the inside of Pat Harvey. Harvey trying to get around on the outside. Right in behind Mello is Chris Hudson. Where does Hudson choose to go here? They're all at the end of their stint. TJ Bartel, by the way, 101 laps on these tires, 102 on these tires. The rest of this group is around lap 85, 84 of these tires. Mello kind of gets out of the way. He's really slowing up going into the corner, and he just kind of gives way and might be saving fuel a little bit. You know, that's another question. That is another question. 27 laps to go. That's around 20 miles, a little bit, maybe around there, 20 miles more. Let's hear it. Hard to say for sure. Now, Terry, this is an interesting point. This is, I think, going to be a battle of who blinks first. And you remember last year when Denny Hamlin pitted with like 30 laps to go and then was a lap down, but because of his speed with 4 tires, he made up that lap, and then I think he passed William Byron for the lead in last year's Spring Richmond Cup Series race, and it was because he pitted with like 30 laps to go and got fresh tires. I think that strategy is gone now. I don't think anyone's going to blink unless they have to. We only have 24 laps to go. These drivers will have to go, I think, like 85 miles on this tank of fuel, which I think is possible. It's just, will the tires hold up? This is interesting. This is an interesting conundrum. At this point, I wouldn't go into the pits if you can help it. I mean, that's also true. What our admin is saying is TJ Bartel has done 106 laps right now, so he's almost serving as the guinea pig. Bartel's definitely going to have to come into the pits. I'd be shocked if he didn't go into the pits. Right now, only the top 8 are on the lead lap. Terry, what are you thinking?
I think we're missing a big question. We're missing the real question that everybody should really care about.
I want to know it.
What does the fox say? The song played earlier. It worked.
Terry.
That's what's just put it in my head. I mean, I've always wanted to know, what does it say? Oh, Maverick Davis.
Oh, Davis.
Oh, what
keep
a
it.
save. Maverick Davis almost lost it from 14th. And that would have been a bad little ending to the race for a lot of drivers.
You ever see that GIF of the guy on ice with a shovel sliding around and barely able to hold himself until he finally loses it 10 seconds in? Well, Davis did that the entire backstretch from the exit of 2 into the entrance of 3 and somehow saved it. Watch this replay. He's wiggling. Oh, he's going down. He's coming back up. He's going back down. And somehow the natural turn-in saved him. Just goes to show you how hot it really is. It's still 102 degrees on track. He's still wiggling. That's live picture right there.
I mean, it's still hot. Still 102 track-wise, and he's fighting grip. And that's what a lot of drivers... Yeah, it's what a lot of drivers are fighting. I mean, he's 2 laps down now. I mean, our leader has lapped all the way up to 8th, Bruno Mello, and he's lapped people multiple times on this racetrack. But this is how much green flag racing we have seen.
I love it. I do love it. Don't get me wrong.
I don't think they're pitting again. I think with
I also
TJ
don't
Bartel,
think
I think with TJ Bartel staying out, he's still on 112 laps.
Yeah, that's more than enough laps. They can go
that
the entire
clears
rest of the way.
That clears it to the end. I think we've seen what we've seen, and barring a caution, I think we're looking at a race leader, Landon Mills.
Laps. Yeah, 113 laps is the length of the last caution to the end of this 200-lap race. That would be the green flag run. Mills is currently at 96. He gets to 113 laps, which is exactly the mark that TJ Bartel just hit. This is his 113th lap on this stint. So he's proven you can do it. He's proven you can go 113 laps. There's no reason to pit. I do wonder, though, Terry, if this was a missed opportunity for some drivers, such as Joshua Daniels or Trent Dinkle. Maybe if they pitted earlier in this run, maybe it was the faster strategy. They'd only need 8-10 seconds to make it the faster strategy.
Well, and the funny part is you asked after the caution what was to be the winning strategy.
We both got it wrong.
Yeah, and right now I think I said the winning. Well, no, I didn't, because I said the winning strategy.
Actually, you got it right. Go until you can't go anymore.
Go until you can't.
That's what you said.
But I also said the winning strategy is going to be the person who wins. And
yeah, that's also like saying the winning team is going to be the one with the most points or goals, runs.
Listen, I'm here.
Talking about practice. Oh,
we got a caution.
We're wrecking on the backstretch. No.
One.
Oh, the 37 is slow. The 77, Joshua Daniels.
Oh, get off the
Daniels running in
bleeping
third.
Track.
He backed up onto the track to bring out the caution. Papineau was going slow.
You gotta be.
And I mean, oh goodness. Once we see this replay, we're gonna have some strong opinions, because watch Papineau. Oh, and you'll see live. I was looking a little bit ahead, so watch this replay. Papineau slides way up on exit, slides in Daniels, and look at that hit Gandy. Just backing up, trying to get back going. I don't think that's anything Daniels could have done to not bring out the caution there. Landon Mills heads down pit road. Abner Acosta, will he come down? Yes, he will. Dinkle into P3. The top three heavy hitters, my friends.
Everybody better pit.
But I'm saying this race just got turned on its head. I'd say if you're, I don't even think you'd take the wave around unless you're on a different strategy.
Well, I think if you're Beasall, Bartel, Bryan,
right. Beasall probably could stay out.
I wouldn't, because you should take the wave around.
Another caution comes out.
Yeah, you take the wave around. You could get a caution. This would be an opportunity. But if you're 2 laps down, come in. Just come in and pit.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, there's no sense at that moment of, what are you gaining? What are you gaining if you do it? It's crazy, because to see Walter and Maverick Davis are on pit lane. Looks like they're all coming down.
So, yeah, everybody who was a lap down, it seems like is going to come into the pits. I don't think Walden. Okay, so we'll get this all sorted out, but nonetheless, the big thing, Terry, who were the 3 drivers we said were fast on for separate reasons throughout the entirety of the race? Mills, Costa, Dinkle. We did have we did say that James O'Brien, or Joshua Daniels, excuse me, was so fast on short runs. Daniels stays out.
Yeah, but he's taking the wave around here.
Yeah, that's
he
true.
got trapped.
He was a lap down.
He got trapped a lap down there after that.
Yeah.
But I'll agree to disagree about what he had to do to get back on the racetrack.
What do you think he could have done? Maybe
shifted
not
quicker.
pull out as far.
Maybe shifted quicker. I mean, he technically didn't have to back up that far and then come to a complete stop to get it in gear. You can back it up.
Oh, I don't
and then
disagree.
boom, you're gone. I feel like he stopped for the caution.
That's fair. I don't necessarily agree or disagree. I think in that situation, whether fair or justified or not justified, he gets the benefit of the doubt because he still had to back up and he still had to get it turned around 90 degrees. And he didn't go all the way through. He didn't get all the way back onto the track with 4 wheels.
If you go just enough to make the caution come out, and I'm not going to lie, I really hope that down the line this gets put to an end, because
it happens too often.
Yeah, but leagues across the board. And I'm not saying just the PRL. I'm talking about all leagues, because nothing pisses me off more than a caution that comes out because you catch the short end of the stick and then you just want to bring it out because you got the raw end of a stick somewhere or you got wrecked or whatever. Get over it. Like,
Terry,
it's the circle of life.
I agree, Terry. I think we've seen a lot more egregious examples, so I'm not going to hang my hat on that.
Well, I'm not saying whether this was an incident or not that caused it. I think, my personal opinion, is that he backed up and stopped for too long of a period to get the caution to come out. Not saying he did anything wrong. I think at that very moment, when he backed up and he came to a complete stop and held it for 10 to 15 seconds, that brought a caution up for no reason.
Well, nonetheless, we'll continue to debate it as this race nears to an end, but we're back to green flag racing with just a few laps left to go. 5 exactly. Mills leads. Dinkle is in, not clear in second. Costa has the run in third. He's going to try and battle back for second on the outside. Dinkle's going to try and clear and cannot do it yet. He's going to maybe hesitate. Oh, he gets right in front of Acosta, and now it's Dinkle in second. Look at Jose Acosta going underneath Abner for third.
Yeah, and it's Acosta versus Acosta there for the P3 position. Is Pat Harvey having a great top 5 run so far. Looks down the back straightaway, has a very hungry 43 of Chris Hudson there as well. It's top 3. Third, from third on back is right there within striking distance to make it work with 3 laps to go.
3 laps to go. 2 and some change now as they head down the backstretch. Trent Dinkle, who's had to fight and claw his way back into this one, is starting to reel in Landon Mills. But Mills has been the strongest all day. 2 laps to go. Just 1.5 miles around this 3/4 mile racetrack. Do they get back to the white flag? If they get back to the white, then we will have just that final lap to go. If we don't, we might be stuck in time, in a time loop. Nonetheless, Mills will exit turn 4. 1 lap to go here. Dinkle again closes in.
Yeah, Dinkle started to close in there. Lap times have been faster, but only by a few hundredths of a second. He's going to get one more attempt at it. He's going to get a good exit off of 2. Down the back straightaway. Here they come.
Not close enough. I think he's going to just settle for a second place unless Mills gets squarely on the exit. But Landon Mills, the best Alden. The win goes to Landon Mills. Trent Dinkle in second. Abner Acosta will finish third with Jose Acosta in fourth. Pat Harvey fifth. And oh goodness, everyone's just fanning out. What a end to the race. You saw strategy. You saw some dominance. You saw potential ends to the race that looked like that. It was very reminiscent of the Cup race earlier.
Yeah, I mean, flag to flag, wire to wire, Landon Mills led every lap. Never got past under the green flag. I mean, it was an absolute just domination from the driver, Landon Mills.
And did you know that Prosper, Texas has a population of 30,000?
Yeah, and the crazy part is he didn't get max points, by the way, because in the last inning of this ball game, Trent Dinkle beat him by 29 one-thousandths of a second for the fastest lap.
Wow. And that obviously, I mean, it's just a battle between Mills and Dinkle in the championship right now. Abner Acosta is still holding strong, but we'll look at the results right now. Mills, Dinkle, Acosta, your podium with Jose Acosta in 4th and Pat Harvey in 5th. Chris Hudson moves up from a 19th place starting position into P6 with Bruno Mello, Joshua Daniels, Lou Christian, your 9 on the lead lap. Top 10 is rounded out by Robert Beasall Jr., so a nice recovery from him in the incident earlier in the race. James O'Brien, Waldo Walden, Eric Papineau, TJ Bartel, the top 14, they're all at least, at worst, 1 lap down. Go to 2 laps down. Maverick Davis, who wiggled like it was staying alive by the Bee Gees all the way down the backstretch at the tail end of this race. He finishes in 15th, matching his number. Brandon Walter in 16th. Richard Pruitt, Chad Kibbe, Matthew Campbell, and Rachel Hunt. The top 20, Hunt 3 laps down. We continue on and Medina, Callahan. Now we keep on Scandi, who had a lot of in 29th. Brian Dixon, 30th. And we continue down. Patrick Cowgill, Jay McDonald, Colton Easterday are your 33 runners, with Trent Dinkle, of course, getting the fastest lap at 22.32 on the 4th to last lap. That was a lot of fun, Terry.
Yeah, it was a real good time. I can't wait to talk to our top 3 and just kind of pick their brains about it. I mean, we got the 3 drivers that are in the top 3 of the championship points, and, well, this could be potentially how we finish the season championship-wise, too.
Well, I think it's time that we started off. And Terry, how about I set you up with our man who got the dub tonight, Landon Mills.
Yeah. Landon Mills, wire to wire, you get it done. Back-to-back wins in the PRL Cup Series and 2 different racetracks from last week to this week. How did that win over here at Richmond feel?
That was probably one of the best put together races I think I've done. So I'm really happy, man. I didn't really have much experience going into this, and I definitely would say that Richmond's not in that top tier of tracks for me. So I'm not the fastest there. I don't necessarily enjoy driving it, but tonight it was pretty fun, to be honest, out there. And yeah, that green flag racing throughout was so fun. Just to kind of cruise out there. So yeah, I definitely surprised myself, but man, what a race.
Yeah, we go to Michigan next week, and you didn't get max points tonight because obviously Trent got the fastest lap in the last little bit of the race. What do you do next week at Michigan, knowing that 2 road courses are following it? You know, we'll go to the 2-miler, then we head to Indy, and then we head to Watkins Glen. You want to try to catch him now, or do you want to wait till he's gone in Watkins Glen?
I don't know. I just think it's a gradual process, so just clean finishes and solid finishes. So a track like Michigan races like a super speedway, right? So I mean, I honestly have no reason to give it, you know, it might sound weird, but to give it everything. So I just feel like hopefully finish top 10 and have a clean car at the end and not be in the garage, because these clean finishes, even with the drop, are crucial. And at a track like this that we just had, like, fantastic to get that done. But Michigan is going to be more of a lottery with a lot more comers and goers. So just kind of trying to stay out of it. I don't need to be too aggressive, and I don't really need to go for max points or even really a win. But obviously that'd be nice. So definitely looking forward to the road courses. Hopefully those go well, and you know, it'll be interesting. But yeah, I kind of feel weird, but I kind of look past Michigan just in a weird way because I just need to finish it. That's all I really need to do, and then after that, I can, run my own race. So looking forward to that. Tonight was awesome. Man, I think we led every single lap, which 200 laps. Oh man, can't beat that. So yeah, just really proud of this car and everyone at the team that makes this work and supports me. So like I said, lots of momentum going and 2 in a row. So hopefully more to come.
Well, congratulations on your win. You're right. All 200 laps led by this man. That's Landon Mills, driver of the Battle Beaver 25 machine. And Dylan, you'll get you set up with P2 and Trent Dinkle.
Yeah, we got Trent Dinkle alongside in P2. Trent, I feel like this is not a P2 finish that you're terribly upset with, considering the kind of race you had. Take us through your thoughts, your feelings on how this race shaped out.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good race. Like, I was kind of ready for it to be a crap fest, so, I knew that at the beginning I more wanted to be, like, slower, kind of like Abner's pace. But then I was like, well, I'll just hang with Landon, because maybe he'll, fall off. And then I think he was just playing with me. That dude was so fast that it's like I would catch him, and I almost caught him. And then I think I started driving the corner exit a little bit too hard and just toasted the right rear. So then I almost wrecked it. And so I came into pit, and I still think it might have worked out if we would have went green and Abner and Landon tried to take it to 100 in pit. I bet I would have had a decent chance to get them at the end, but yeah, and then having to start tail end of the field wasn't exactly fun, and we didn't have a caution there, so I was having to try and save my tires, but still get through all the lap cars and then pass all the, I was like 10th, so I had to pass all those guys, and then I feel like I did a hell of a lot better job saving tires that second run. I mean, granted, it seemed like Josh was still driving away from me a little bit, but I mean, I had drove away from Jose. It was just, I kept getting caught up to lap cars. When they have fresh tires, they just think they're entitled to the entire track, and they're like a half a tenth back, and they just like, yeah, we're gonna send it in. So, that's a little annoying, but overall, I mean, I'm super happy with P2. I don't know if we had maybe a few more laps if I could have caught Landon, because I was cruising there at the end. It's just not enough laps, I guess.
One thing that Terry and I were talking about over the last 100 plus laps right before that caution came out at the end there was if it did go green the rest of the way, and even I feel like we ran enough laps under green before that final caution that this strategy could have worked. I almost feel like you guys could have set up where maybe you in the position you were in 8-10 seconds back, at one point you got into within at least 5 seconds or so of the lead. If you came down to pit for 4 tires with around 40 laps, 50 laps to go, do you feel like if everyone else stayed out, you would have gotten all the way back around to maybe get that extra 5 seconds you needed to get by Landon?
Yeah, well, I think the problem was, I mean, I think you got like a good solid 10 laps just from the testing I did. Like, it seemed like the first 10 laps you could push the hell out of it, but like if you pushed really hard those first 10 laps, the rest of the run was really bad. So I think it was, and Landon really was, I mean, I think his average when I looked and we were almost to 100 laps, he was still running like average of 6s, and that would be hard to beat, because you're obviously going to go at least a lap down, and then you got to drive, you basically got to pull 40 seconds on him, and that just would have been slightly tough to do. But I mean, it could have been possible. That's what I was hoping for when I initially pitted. That was my plan. I was going to split it up into thirds, and I think it would have worked, because when I came out after I pit the first time, I was taking it a lot easier. And I knew I would have had a little bit more at the end, but Yeah, I mean, trust me, I'm super happy with P2 because I felt like crapola all week. I haven't had a rough week like this in a while. So, and then I'm sure it'll just be even more terrible at Michigan. So I just got to get through next race, and then, it seems like Landon's really stepped it up a notch or two, and I mean, it's going to be hard to beat him at Indy, I'm sure. So I'll be spending my whole entire week's worth of life sitting here trying to be faster.
So usually I'd let you go after 2 questions, but I do want to follow up. Kind of, talking about Landon with the speed that he's showing. And I believe you did say the other week that you're missing the finale at Watkins Glen, correct?
Yes, unfortunately. I think, I'm missing the ability to race competitively. I do have enough stuff on my old wheelbase and pedals. I'm going to take my janky old setup to the racetrack with me, and I'm going to make 2 laps and just hope that, I don't blink enough. I'm going to start in the back, and 2 laps, I'm going to park it, and, obviously maybe it's not going to be a huge gain, but I might get luck and at least keep second, I guess, but,
Well, hey, if it comes to that at the start of that final race and you're in the session, we'll probably have you queued up real quick just to ask you what your plans are, because that certainly sounds interesting.
Yeah, and then, hey, yeah, it'll be fun. We'll see what happens.
All right, Trent Dinkle, his second place finish just continues the line of really strong finishes throughout the whole season. Congrats on the P2. Best of luck at Michigan next week.
All right, thanks. See ya.
Terry, I'm going to set you up with currently 3rd, not only in this in the race results, but also 3rd in the all-time Cup Series PRL race wins, with 22 wins, and believe it or not, 1 ahead of Trent Dinkle as we speak. Abner Acosta.
Yeah, Abner, you come home 3rd here this afternoon, and not necessarily the run I'm sure you wanted. I'm sure you wanted to run 2 spots higher, but we're getting ready for Michigan next week, and then we're getting ready for 2 road courses where your win on the season came at Chicago Street Course. Are you patiently optimistic, waiting on the tail end of the season to happen?
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to road courses. Yeah, but Trent and Landon are gonna be really fast. Don't necessarily enjoy Michigan, but I think I'll do all right. But yeah, looking forward to the end of the season.
Walk me through the track temp tonight. It was a really hot racetrack for you, and you couldn't necessarily. I'm not sure if you were able to find the speed that you wanted. Was grip a problem, or was it just pace in general?
The car was just too tight, man. It was just entry was tight. Brake bias was maxed out, so it would have to been like a tire pressure change or something. But pace wasn't terrible, but just again, entry was terrible. Exit, you will spin your tires if you went too fast. I just don't think that was it this week. I mean, it was enough to be ahead, of course, but yeah, it was just too tight, and just trying to hang on.
Well, I tell you what, won't hold you any longer. We'll see you next week at Michigan, and best of luck the rest of the week.
All right, thank you guys. Have a good night.
That's Abner Acosta, driver of the number 5 private label Team Hype Chevrolet. We'll kick it back to Dylan Coyle for final thoughts.
Well, that was, honestly, I think it was a fun race. Not a conventionally fun race, but I feel like most times we go to Richmond, it's not your conventionally fun race. Lately, we see this end did not lead to a difference in the results we expected, but it maybe helped Trent Dinkle. I mean, still, he's ahead of Mills right now in points. He lost a few points at the end there, but gained back with that fastest lap of the race. We got a title fight on our hands with 3 to go.
Yeah, and we definitely do. And the crazy part about it is the top 3 in the race has been the top 3 all season long. in the point standings. They've run up front on the conventional 1.5 miles. They run up front the road-wise, and it has not necessarily been a walk in the park for Trent Dinkle. And now he talked about Landon Mills showing up with a little bit more speed. It's going to be fun towards the last 3 races, or well, 2 with Trent, unless he does end up racing Watkins Glen. If Landon can close in purely based off of points and catching him win-wise, or is it going to take him missing a week for us to have a true title fight?
I don't think it's. Listen, it all depends on what they're able to do at the Oval, the final Oval of the season next week at Michigan International Speedway. Same time, same day of the week, Sunday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we go to Indy Road Course, then we go to Watkins Glen to end the season. Even if, listen, the drop week that is Mills has been running, if we're talking about just overall points, I'm not exactly sure what the calculations are, but overall points, I think it's a lot closer than the 30-point gap we saw because of the drop week that is getting involved. Mills has not had a bad result yet, and Dinkle has one bad result. If you take those each of their lowest results and put it into account, I think they're right there together. So a lot of fun to be had at the 2-mile D-shaped oval of Michigan International Speedway. Fairly high banked. It's gonna be fun in Brooklyn. Closing thoughts.